Welcome back, dear children. So now the merchant's brow was puckered with perplexity. So desperately had the man desired the doves that he had let him have them at a reduced price, and immediately he had turned them loose. Oh, why? Why is this happening? Purcell muttered. Did he do that? He felt very insulted. Who felt very insulted? Mr. Purcell felt very insulted. Right? Why he get insulted? Children, you analyze a situation. You just guess how, if you are Purcell, how you feel. And if you are a strange customer who worked for 10 years for just $5, and if you made the dove free, how you will feel. So share your experience, a comprehension check. That's all. If we finish this, then the lesson was over. 6th unit was over, right? First question. And before the question, we'll have a summary of I want something in a cage, right? So take your classwork, write it. Mr. Purcell ran a shop of pets. One day, a strange man came there. He bought 2 doves, but soon after coming out of the shop, he let the doves free. This strange act made Mr. Purcell uneasy. His shop began to appear to him a haunted house. Haunted house is ghost house, right? The shop had all kinds of pets. On the shelves, there were many cages. Mr. Purcell considered himself a professional man. There was always some noise in the shop. This was created by the sounds of different animals on the shop. There seemed to be everywhere a flicker of life. The life in cages did not trouble Mr. Purcell's customer. They praised the caged animals and called them cute. Mr. Purcell showed his concern about the well-being of the birds and animals in his shop. He dealt in fish food and bird seed and prescribed remedies for ailing canaries. He wore large glasses which magnified his eyes. His look made the author compare him to a wise owl. That much big. His eyes is very big. The noise in the shop did not trouble Mr. Purcell. He was as used to it as the ticking of a clock. Ticking of a clock. 24 cross 7. 24 hours, 7 days in a week. Clock will say tick tock, tick tock. So the same way the birds and animals sound made like a clock. The customers who came to buy a pet also did not mind this noise. But a man had bought 2 doves and let them free. He had found the shop depressing. Right? He asked the owner if all the noise did not upset him. This man had shiny shoes. His suit was very cheap. His dress was ill-fitting but new. He had close-cropped hair and unsteady eyes. He didn't seem very clear as to what he wanted. He had been just released from prison. So, he wanted to buy an animal which could give him a taste of freedom. His eyes fell on a pair of doves. He knew that the doves loved to fly high in the air. He did not buy the doves because he loved them. Why he bought? He wanted to free that bird. He wanted to have the pleasure of freeing some animals. This urge was so great that for this, he spent all his money. Right? That is what I said. You have to experience that. This he had earned after working hard as a prisoner for how many years? 10 years. The amount was only $5. After buying the doves, this new customer talked to Mr. Purcell for a little while. Mr. Purcell offered to advise him about the care and feeding of the doves. The man, however, was not at all interested in that. He said bah with disdain and went out of the shop. It was so because he was not interested in keeping the doves inside the cage, right? As soon as he came out, he opened the cage. He let the doves fly high in the sky. Mr. Purcell saw it and felt vaguely insulted. So that is the end of the lesson. I hope you too could have experienced the bird freeing and enjoying the freedom, right? Try it once. Now, first question is, do you think the atmosphere of Mr. Purcell's shop was cheerful or depressing? Give reason for your answer. So, the atmosphere in Mr. Purcell's shop was dull and cheerless. The shop was full of movements of noising birds and pet animals. Mr. Purcell had become used to that noise, but the customer wondered how the owner put up with that noise. Second question is, describe the stranger who came to the pet shop. What did he want? The stranger who came to Mr. Purcell's shop had been released from jail after 10 years of imprisonment. His suit, though new looking, was cheap and ill-fitting. He had close cropped hair. His eyes moved all around in the shop. He wanted to purchase something in a case. Question number 3. The man insisted on buying the doves because he was fond of birds. Do you agree with this? No. The man was neither fond of birds nor did he insist on buying the fair doves. He only wanted some birds in a cage. How had he earned the $5 he had? The man had spent 10 years in prison. He had to work very hard. He was paid only $0.50 per year. That is 50 cents. He left the jail with just $5 and a cheap suit. Now, question number 4. Was a customer interested in the care and feeding of the doves he had bought? If not, why not? No, the man had no love or liking for the doves. He did not mean to keep them as a pet itself. He doesn't have any idea of keeping a pet. So he paid no attention to what Mr. Purcell said about the feeding and care of birds. Soon after stepping out of the shop, he freed the birds and dropped the cage. So this is discuss the following. First question is, why in your opinion did the man set the doves free? You can write your own answers. This is just a discussion for you, right? The man set the doves free because he had got already the better taste of imprisonment. He knew the need and value of freedom, right? It was his love for freedom that he spent his hard-earned money on buying the doves and setting them free, right? You have to enjoy the freedom. The birds also has to. That is the reason why he spent fully his hard-earned money fully on buying the doves and setting them free. Why did it make Mr. Purcell feel vaguely insulted? The word vaguely insulted. Mr. Purcell felt insulted because he had reduced the price of the doves and still made profit. He felt small to see the customer's love for freedom and his great sacrifice. So, by seeing 10 years of hard earned money was spent in freeing a bird, comparatively, he is making profit. Mr. Purcell is making profit with that bird. So, that is the difference. So, Mr. Purcell felt vaguely insulted. So, more solved questions, short answer type questions. Question number 1. What was Purcell's source of earning? Mr. Purcell ran a pet shop. He sold cats, dogs, monkeys, and birds. He also sold fish food and bird seed. He also prescribed remedies for the sick animals. In this way, he earned his living. Describe Mr. Purcell's daily routine at the shop. Mr. Purcell opened his shop and sat on a high stool every morning. He unfolded the newspaper and read through it. He attended the customers if there was any. It was his daily routine. Reading newspaper, attending customer if any customer comes. Now, third question. What surprised Mr. Purcell one day? Mr. Purcell had hung a bell on the door of his shop. It began to ring on when the arrival of a customer. That day it failed to ring. Mr. Purcell was surprised. He felt that the customer appeared out of the air. Why did the customer hate Mr. Purcell? The customer noticed that Mr. Purcell had imprisoned birds and animals to earn money. So what the customer thought? Mr. Purcell imprisoned birds and animals just for earning. He had robbed them for their freedom. So the customer loved freedom, so he hated Mr. Purcell. Why did the customer free the imprisoned dove? The customer had suffered the pains of prison life. He was a jailbird a short while ago, so he tossed the doves into the air and freed them from their imprisonment. How did the customer feel after freeing the doves? The customer had freed 2 doves from their prison. He had utilized his hard-earned money. He longed to teach Mr. Purcell a good lesson. Therefore, he felt happy about his action. So, there's a long answer type question. What type of a shopkeeper was Mr. Purcell? Mr. Purcell sold pets at his shop. They included both animals and birds. He displayed his birds at his pet in golden and beautiful cages. Different cages were there. He also sold fish food and bird seed. He prescribed medicine for them. He knew how to treat the sick birds and animals. He advised his customer what to feed the birds and how to look after the animals. All these tips will be given by him. He appeared to know everything about birds and animals. He was a wise man. His behavior with the customer was like that of a professional. He never thought about the value and importance of freedom. He deprived the birds of their freedom to gain money. All that he didn't think at any time. Right? Bring out a contrast between Mr. Purcell and the customer. So you have to compare the two persons. So children, you can try this on your own. Purcell did not give much importance to freedom. So he sold pets in cages and earned money. He took pleasure in engaging birds and animals. He was crazy about gaining money. But the customer was built of different stuff. So write on your own, dear. Thank